Right, hello, guys. So in today's episode, we're talking through some ideas around what you can do if you feel like your training hikes are getting harder. Now, this episode was inspired by a question I had from one of my Summit Strength clients the other day. Now, each week as part of our coaching, we do a sort of weekly group coaching call in which everyone gets on a Zoom call. We all have a chat through how the week's gone, answer any questions that may pop up and all of that. And one of the questions that came up was from a lady who's around about week 5, week 6 of her particular program. And she said, look, she'd been out on a hike on the weekend, and instead of it actually feeling easier, as in she's getting fitter or stronger or whatever it may be, it actually felt harder than the previous weeks. And she was asking me, what's going on here? What can I do to help? And this is a super common situation a lot of hikers will find themselves in, particularly when you are doing a pretty solid training process. So it's not so much of you just doing random hikes here and there, but if you're following a training program and you're being consistent week to week to week, this isn't too uncommon to come across. Essentially, when we do get to this point, when we're on a hike, we feel like maybe our legs are a little bit heavier, maybe we're getting out of breath a little bit harder, maybe we're just not really feeling the love and we're just not really feeling like we're skipping along the hike or whatever it may be. If you've been following a structured program for the previous weeks, there's basically two things or two approaches you may want to consider when you get to this stage. Now, number one, probably the simplest option, is if you are feeling like hikes are getting harder, it's probably a sign you just need a little bit of a rest. So essentially, when we're going through our training process, how we get fitter, stronger, more resilient, whatever it may be, it's not so much when we're actually training, but we get fitter, stronger, resilient when we recover from training. So essentially what we're doing in the training process is giving stimulus. We're taking time to let the body relax, get stronger, fitter, more resilient so we can deal with this stimulus again. And that way you can go a little bit faster or more comfortable or perform better or whatever it may be. And basically a sign saying, look, if you are getting more tired than usual, if you are not recovering properly, and if you're feeling like you're going backwards, there's probably a case of saying, look, you've been training quite a bit. You probably just need a little bit of chill out time. You need a bit of time to help that recovery catch up, to help the body get back to normal, to adapt. And then in a week's time or so, you probably would be feeling much better. So option number one, simplest thing, is just give yourself a week, which is a little bit more light on. So maybe have a week off hiking. Maybe if you're doing loaded pack walking, just do, half the weight or 3/4 the weight which you've been doing. If you've been doing strength sessions, maybe just reduce the sets down. Just take all the training you've been doing and just make it a little bit easier for yourself for 1 week. And then during this time, your body will just have a bit of time to relax, to catch up, to recover. And then if you give yourself this sort of recovery week, getting back into things normal from the following week, more than likely you're going to feel like a brand new person. So that's option number one, is simply just give yourself a chill out week and more than likely you're going to bounce back. Now, option number two, and you can do this hand in hand with option number one, but option number two, this one will typically go into someone who they maybe be on a bit of a timeline. So maybe they're only 4 or 5 or 6 weeks away from their hike. They don't actually want to have a week of sort of calmer training. Or maybe it's someone who feels like they're really on a really good roll at the moment and they've been doing some awesome training and they feel like they want to keep this momentum up. And they're a little bit worried that maybe this deload week, recovery week may put them a little bit backwards and it may be tough to regain that momentum. In that situation, if you are struggling on your hikes, you can keep your normal training as is. But essentially what you want to do is just increase your emphasis and increase your efforts on the recovery side of things. So putting some extra emphasis into your week to help promote recovery, to help the body adapt a little bit better, and then hopefully that'll give you the edge you need just to get back to normal and get feeling good. So when we're talking about recovery, there's lots and lots of things you can kind of go into this. But really the big rocks when it comes to this is nutrition, sleep, and also active recovery. So your nutrition side of things, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on this, but essentially what one mistake a lot of hikers will make is when they're going through their training, they're just purely not getting enough fuel to both fuel their exercise and also fuel their recovery. Because I know a lot of hikers out there, sometimes, maybe we'll be thinking about a bit of a weight loss journey at the same time as training. Or maybe we're just used to sort of thinking about, maybe just not going overboard with our, eating or whatever it may be, which is all well and good for some people. But if you're in a training process, you're actively trying to get fitter, stronger, whatever it may be, if you're not getting enough food, then, purely you're just not going to recover as well as you could. You're not going to have the energy that you had, and that may be holding you back. So step number one is just to sort of look at your food. Write it all down what you're eating in the week and just ask yourself, am I eating enough? It's not a perfect question because obviously what is enough, but it's something you should probably look at and say, okay, maybe I'm actually skipping meals here and there. Maybe I just need to make sure I'm getting my regular meals. Or maybe I just need to add a snack before or after training just so I can, make sure I'm filling in these holes between meals or whatever it may be. The simple stuff anyone can do. And then from there, if you're looking at it and you're like, look, I really don't know what I'm doing here, I really do need some more direction, then that's essentially when you probably would want to reach out to a professional, book a consult with a dietitian, get a really clear plan of attack. And that's exactly what I do with my clients. We work quite closely with a dietitian who specializes in hikers, so we can get people, in line with all of this. And that's number one, looking at your recovery. Number two, really, really simple, but a lot of people will ignore it when we're looking at recovery, is making sure you're getting enough quality sleep. So sleep is such a massive, massive, massive factor when it comes to our recovery. And if we're not getting enough sleep, simply, we're just missing out on a lot of potential benefits. So, the typical thing, aiming between maybe 7 to 9 hours of sleep, depending on what may be realistic for you. Everyone's going to be a little bit different and yada, 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 but just aiming for a decent amount of sleep. Now, obviously, if you've got young kids, if you've got a crazy job, that might not be realistic, but just doing what you can. Maybe adding extra 15 minutes, maybe adding extra half an hour, that will all add up. And then the other side of things is sort of looking at what you can do to help protect your sleep, to make sure you're getting deep quality sleep, that restorative sleep that we really need. So looking after your sleep hygiene, doing things like avoiding screens for an hour before bed, maybe doing something relaxing before bed, maybe doing some journaling to clear your mind, or whatever it may be. There's a million and one things you can do to help improve the quality of your sleep, but being proactive on that, choosing one or two strategies and giving that a go. And sometimes that's enough just to give you that edge in recovery and get you feeling good again. And then the third thing in recovery, which we'll talk about, is just some type of active recovery. So simple, gentle movements to help promote relaxation in the body, to help calm it down, help it recover, and help it feel good. So maybe adding in, a half an hour yoga session into your week. Maybe adding in 20 minutes of pool walking or swimming. Maybe adding in a regular 15-minute foam rolling session once or twice a week, or whatever it is. But look at what you're doing currently and just see, where can I sort of add a little bit more recovery work? Now, if you are in this situation where you are struggling on your training hikes, you feel like you're slowing down, you feel like things are getting tougher, there are two directions you kind of want to look at. You can either do one or the other or both. Have that week of rest or week of deload. More than likely that will sort you out. Or promote your recovery a little bit. Put some more emphasis into that and it will go a long way. But the worst thing you really can do in this situation, if you are feeling like things are tough, you're feeling like things are going backwards, don't feel the need just to push through it. Sure, you can probably do that for a week or two, and every once in a while you may be able to dig yourself out of that rut and you'll be all back to normal. But more often than not, that's just going to extend this period out, extend this period of not really performing so well in your sessions, extend this period of being fatigued and tired, and it can take a lot of fun out of the process. So if you are aware you're in this situation, don't try to push through it. Take one of these two options, put it into action, and more than likely that will sort you out. So I think that's probably enough from me today. I do hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you got some ideas from that, and I hope it can help you in the situation when things do start to feel like they're going backwards. Now, if you did want to learn a little bit more about this, if you want some extra ideas around the sleep, around the nutrition, around the active recovery, or whatever it may be, I would absolutely love for you to come and find me in the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. Now, inside that group, I'm always happy to expand on this information, expand on these episodes, share extra ideas and strategies, or whatever it may be. So if you want to find that, that's the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. I'll leave a link in the show notes below. So thank you so much for listening today. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.